Hey guys, it's Julian from Illume, and today I'll be installing our 3-piece LED dynamic tail light on this 3rd generation Lexus IS. In today's video, I'll be running you through the installation process and demonstrating the features of the tail lights. Included in the box, you'll get a center tail light piece. You've got 2 tail lights for the sides. You've got covers for the tail light bolts, 2 bridging cables. You've also got a adapter bracket for the reverse camera, and you've also got a garnish for the number plate lights. First, we need to remove the boot trim, and you're just held in by 13 clips. After removing the trim piece, we need to remove the 2 tail lights on the boot. They are held in by 4 10mm bolts on each side, and also we need to unplug the plugs. Next, we have to push them out from behind, just like so. Okay. In order to remove the center trim, we need to remove the number plate garnishes first. They're as simple as just popping them on the side with a trim remover. Once you have removed the number plate light garnishes, you'll need to remove 4 10mm bolts. Now it just needs to simply pop the garnish off, and it is held in by 2 clips on either side. Just pry in between. This one. Next, we need to remove the reverse camera from the car so we can transfer it onto the bracket supplied with the tail lights. We will need to unplug the camera. As simple as pushing in this plug and pulling it out. And we will now need to remove this plug off the boot. It is held in by 2 push clips from behind. It's as simple as just pressing them together and pulling it down, just like that. To remove the reverse camera, you will need to push in 2 clips on either side from the inside of the boot. Okay, just like so. The push tabs are located on either side of the reverse camera. Now we're going to transfer the camera onto the other bracket. We need to unplug this plug to give us more access, just like so. And we will need to remove the 2 screws holding the camera in. We will need to use a small Phillips head screwdriver to remove the 2 screws. Now we need to install the camera into the provided bracket. You may or may not need to modify the factory camera depending on the country of your car. You simply just need to cut off one of the tabs here, just like that. The reason why we need to modify the camera by cutting off the tab is so that the camera can sit flush into the bracket. Due to the nature of the aftermarket bracket, we can only reinstall 1 screw back onto the camera. However, it is just as secure as the OEM. Once the camera is screwed back in, we just need to plug in the harness. Now we just need to feed the harness back through the hole in the boot and then clip the camera back into its position. Just like so. Make sure you clip the male plug back into the car and plug in the camera. Once the reverse camera is reinstalled, we need to put the center garnish onto the car. It is as simple as just feeding the wires through the holes on the boot. We also need to make sure that all the wires are through the hole. Make sure the tail light studs align with the holes. And just simply push down. Just like so. Now we'll need to bolt the tail light down with the 8 to 10 millimeter nuts we removed earlier. We will need to reinstall the 4 remaining bolts in between the number plate lights. Following that last step, we'll now need to install the provided number plate light garnish onto the assembly. To install the garnish back on, you just need to push the clips back in, just like that. We are now up to the wiring stage of the center tail light assembly. All we need to do is just plug in the harness into the factory plug on either sides, as well as join these 2 bridging cables together. We recommend securing the blue bridging cable onto the car with either using zip ties or electrical tape. This just keeps the cable neat and tidy. Next, we will need to remove the boot hinge covers, and they are securely held in by 3 push clips. Repeat the same process for the second side. Following that, we'll need to partially remove the inner boot trims to expose the rear of the tail lights. This is done by removing 5 clips. Once you have pulled the boot trim to the side, you just need to unplug the tail light harness. To remove the outer tail lights, we'll now need to pop these clips open to expose 2 10mm bolts, which we'll need to remove. To remove the outer tail lights, you'll need to push them out towards the back of the car. Might be a bit difficult, but it should just unclip itself from the car. To remove the tail light completely from the car, you'll need to pull the harness through the grommet. Just like so. This is our outer tail light assembly. To install it, we just need to feed the harness through the hole and ensuring the rubber grommet is installed properly. And all we need to do is push the tail light assembly back onto the car. Reinstall the 2 10mm bolts and install the bolt cover onto the tail light assembly. Now you just need to reconnect the tail light back to the car and make sure you repeat the same steps for the remaining tail light. After installing the remaining tail light, you will now want to bridge the outer tail light with the inner tail light, and this is done with the provided bridging harness. Simply connect the bridging harness to the inner tail light assembly and route it along the boot hinge. As before, zip tie or electrical tape the harness to the factory harness along the boot hinge. After routing the harness down the boot hinge, plug the harness into the tail light. Now we will need to reinstall the boot trim into place. Make sure you give enough slack for the bridging harness behind the trim. Once you've reinstalled the boot trim, you need to reinstall the hinge cover back onto the hinge. And once you've done that, you'll need to repeat the installation process of installing the bridging harness on the other side of the car. The final step is to reinstall the boot trim back onto the boot. Now that we have installed the 3-piece LED dynamic tail lights on this Lexus IS, I will now run you through the features of the product. First, we have a startup sequence. Indicators. this is the brakes. And the reverse.